evangelist for Snowflake in India, and I'm here to talk about a topic that you are hearing about from pretty much the morning, and you have been interacting with that particular piece of information for a notably long time. But what we are here to talk about today is a different take, and we want to share our perspective with you on how we at Snowflake look at generative AI, and hence the title of the presentation being, are you still looking at generative AI as a college student? Now, what you'd see here are two contrasts. There's one student that is using generative AI to write essays, and the other one is using generative AI to unlock productivity and innovation. Now, the funny part is that this was generating using generative AI, which means to say that maybe I'm using GenAI as a college student, but you don't have to. So, over the due course of the next 20-25 minutes, we are going to share with you our vision of generative AI, the way we see it, our perspective, how we look at GenAI to unlock productivity, innovation, not just for organizations, but also for individuals. As practitioners, you would be very much interested in knowing how I can exploit the likes of this amazing technology without really exposing myself or my organization to unwanted risks. So that is exactly what we are going to cover today, and maybe by the end of this presentation, we'll sort of give you a quick glimpse. While we are not here to boil the ocean around generative AI and give you everything rags and how these equations work and what have you, we'll give you a quick overview. And then if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about it, meet us at our booth, and we'll be more than happy to walk you through some of the more detailed nuances of how we see GenAI for the enterprise. Now, this is something that you already know. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but there's a new era of computing happening right now as we speak. We have seen this transition from early 2000s where the likes of classical AI, machine learning, and when we say AI, it's the likes of rule-based systems or logic-based systems that were already prevalent. So saying that AI is absolutely new and it's the be-all, end-all of technology is sort of an overstatement. But classical AI, machine learning, always was there. But starting 2005, 2010 onwards, by the end of that decade, we started getting into the likes of deep learning. Now, you already know deep learning is where we are using the likes of neural networks, be it artificial neural networks, recurrent neural networks, and the likes, to analyze large-scale data that we couldn't earlier. Now, that led to a lot of explainability issues, that led to organizations thinking that, hey, that requires a lot of compute resources. Maybe we take a couple of steps back and do what we do best, that is predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, and that is, for some of you, an oversimplification. But starting 2015 onwards, we started to see a paradigm shift. We saw models exploding with the number of input variables that were going in, and this, we started calling this generative AI. Now, it's all under the the fancy umbrella of AI, albeit that the parameters that we are using, the input parameters that we are using are generating outputs that are generated, that do not exist, so it's all synthetic. So, we have seen this transition over the last couple of decades, and GenAI, as we know, this revolution is happening at a lightning fast speed. I know a lot of you would be very, very well familiar with OpenAI. Yes, a quick show of hands to see OpenAI. Yes, no, yay or nay. Okay. So a whole bunch of folks have sort of experimented with OpenAI. And what we'll talk about is not OpenAI per se, but we'll talk about how you can leverage these models for your enterprise. Because we at Snowflake, we believe security, governance, and privacy is paramount. And we also believe that instead of taking your data to the model, you need to bring your model to the data. So we are going to talk data as a part of this talk. Again, and this is something that you might just understand towards the end of this presentation, because we feel you cannot have an AI or a GenAI strategy without a robust data strategy. All of the models that we can talk about, it's trained on your data. So that contextualization is extremely important. So let's dive in a little further. Let's talk about how we are exactly doing it. Now, there are three elements to a good GenAI slash data strategy if you were to leverage something this complicated? The first and foremost, which is foundational, is that you protect your data and your models. That is your IP. If you're exposing your data, if you're exposing yourself to, say, unwanted risks, it's not great for the business. And we have seen this happen time and time again where reverse engineering, prompt engineering has led to exposure of some really private information, not only of customers, but also the way organizations work. That is paramount, and that is again what we believe we need to do as a platform for generative AI. The second is democratizing access. Not everyone knows what RAGs are, not everyone knows what transformer models are, and maybe not everyone knows what just your run-of-the-mill logistic regression is. So in order for this piece of technology to be available for business users, this needs to have an interface. This needs to be very easy to use, and we need to increase adoption of this technology. So democratizing access, again, becomes very important. And then for the people who do understand this stuff, I'm not one of those, for people who do understand this stuff, the kinds of, again, the drags and all of these really complicated transformer models, and how do you fine-tune maybe a Llama 70 billion parameter model, you want to have that talent focusing on fine-tuning, on your data. So that is how we look at generative AI, and this is what our vision is. We want to do all three of those, and the way we are able to do it is, and we are coming to that in a minute, the way we are able to do this is by doing another three things. One, at Snowflake, we keep all of your data and your models secured and governed. You have access to all of your data, and again, your data is what would unlock opportunities for you in GenAI. So instead of taking your data to the model, you bring the model to the data. For democratizing access, you should be able to, and this is our vision, feel free to disagree, you should be able to use AI within seconds. I parse some information inside a model, and then it gives me results as a business stakeholder as to what I need to do as next steps. That is important. And the final piece to it being, I need to be able to fine-tune it, I need to be able to commoditize it. Now, if I'm a data scientist and I have my model running in my laptop or my machine, with really no interface or a really complicated interface for my business stakeholders, I'm never going to get a buy-in. And this is all practical, isn't it? If I'm not able to put this in front of the business, they're not going to invest in it. There's never going to be a good buy-in for this. So, coming to the actual platforming bit, I just wanted to get these three things clear, that you want to keep your data and models secure, you want to democratize AI, and the final piece being that you want to contextualize it with your data. How we are able to do it is this way. This is a quick platform overview of what we are doing at Snowflake. Of course, if some of you might already know, we are a data cloud company, we power multiple workloads, but this is our quick overview for generative AI and GenAI only. What you'd see down here is a layer that is absolutely foundational to all of our workloads, that is governed, managed, and secured data. The security perimeter applies to everything that exists inside the Snowflake environment. And what you see on the top is what we were just talking about, the ability to use AI within seconds using first-party experiences, and we'll talk, and in fact, we'll not talk about it, we'll show you exactly how we are doing that. Apps within minutes. For those of you who are well-versed with Python, you might know there is an open source library called Streamlit that you can use to create very intuitive applications. You don't have to worry about spinning up clusters and infrastructure and managing overheads. You can just write maybe 20 lines of Python code, and now you have an app up and running. Now imagine a model that is now inside an app, and maybe I want to fine-tune it. So all of that you'll be able to do with this seamless flow, within seconds, within minutes, and within hours. That is what we power here at Snowflake. But that is enough of Snowflake. Let's bring up some really practical examples of what you want to do. As a part of reading these slides, and I know there's a lot of information in here, start with the bottom, the data. What happens to it, and then what kinds of results can you drive with it? Okay? So stay with me. So maybe you are a financial services organization and you want to analyze insurance claim PDFs. That is your data. You bring in your model instead of taking the data to the model. You're bringing the model to the data. We have first-party experiences along the likes of Document AI. You commoditize it and create an internal application. So encapsulate it, create an application, and with this, what you're able to do is assess fraud risk. You can understand maintenance trends, and there's so much more that you can do. You can create an AI assistant for wealth advisors. Once again, it is starting with your data. There is a model on top of it, and again, there is a user interface. All of that happening in one environment, that is driving results. So the keyword here is results. Maybe you want to know the top 10 events related to my portfolio. Or the model that is now trained on your data would be able to generate contextualized insights for your business stakeholders. So I know we are all data practitioners here, but we, in one way or the other, interface with the business. We want to make it accessible, we want to make AI accessible for the business. That is the democratization bit. Switching gears, we can also think of retail and CPG organizations that want to do sentiment analysis, and these are again first-party experiences. We are building sentiment analysis. You could build sentiment analysis inside of Snowflake, but understand this, you have lots and lots of unstructured data, customer feedback data. You want to parse all of that information in and then create an application out of it. So you see this trend, right? It is data, it is models, and then there is an application. So we are coming full circle. We are making AI accessible to business stakeholders, and same goes for the likes of personalized recommendations. You have, with Snowflake, you also get access to third-party data through our marketplace. You not only have the purchase history as internal data, but you can enrich data from marketplace, then have contextual data around the data that you already have, get in more features, and then ultimately use a model on top of it, the application, you know the drill. So the whole idea is we are going from data to models to applications. And this is the trend that we have been observing. We have seen the era of data-centric AI. We have seen the era of model-centric AI. We are now seeing an era of application-centric AI. What we want to do with Snowflake, with democratizing access, is create human-centric AI, which is easy to interact with. That is the progression that we see. And again, if you disagree, raise your hand or meet us at the booth. We'd love to have this conversation with you. We could also think of use cases in manufacturing. Maybe you want to drive total quality management. You have lots and lots of PDFs, documents. You can use first-party applications within seconds and then create a Streamlit app on top of it, all encoded in Python, less than maybe 20, 50 lines of code. And you have a working application that you can share with stakeholders. Maybe if you're a manufacturing organization, you share it with a floor supervisor that is now able to drive TQM as a part of their remit. So lots of use cases get unlocked, but what we are going to do now is, I'm just going to switch gears because this is a lot of talking for a developer conference. We want to show you exactly how we make this possible, and we'll show you a quick glimpse. We cannot show you everything that happens inside of Snowflake, but what we'll be able to show to you is something very easy that we feel is easy for developers. It's called ML-powered functions. And think of it as writing machine learning powered functions inside of SQL, getting outputs right away. So if you're a data engineer and you're very well versed with SQL, you can use these functionalities right out of the box and reduce your time to value. So enough of talking, let me call up on stage my friend and colleague Sarita, who is going to do exactly that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi. It's always great to talk about GenAI, an area which is very, very close to my heart. So this is what Farhan was trying to tell us, and if we had to take just one slide out of this entire discussion that we were doing, it was, we had always thought about models first, about algorithms, me, myself being a data engineer, a data analyst, and gradually data science and ML. What I've always thought is, how do I marry all of these things together? How do I bring in the algorithm and choose the right one? But then, now, we have always thought about coding part of it, right? We have worked on it and we have excelled in it. We now know what are the loss functions that we have to choose about, what would be the most fitting one, how do we go ahead and use the same, right? But then, There's a slight shift now. And the only thing, if I want you to take away today out of this room now, would be just think about it. We are now thinking about the data-centric approach. For any AI implementation, for any AI application building, we are now talking about how friendly we can get this for the human nature, how we can use it and optimize it. To do that, we would need to shift our focus to having code plus data and then need to work on top of the data. So with that, I would take a segue and ask a question to all of you. For example, there are a lot of engineers out here. I would just ask a very simple question. For example, suppose I had to do a forecasting for my data set. What would be the steps that you would follow to do the same? Anyone can raise a hand, or all of you could answer at one go, if it suffices. Anyone, please? Am I getting something? Okay. So let me put that through. I saw a hand up there. Maybe we can't get a mic there, but let me answer it just for saving us a little time. What we would do is we would take the data, apply a model on top of it. That is, we would understand what is the right model for the same, apply that algorithm. What would be the loss function? What would be the coefficients? What are the parameters which are required? I might fine tune that model also at the end of the day to fit my data, and then understand that now that I have trained this model, I would go ahead and now I would fit the model to my data. And then of course over the time I would go back, check the model. For that I would also have an entire model registry kind of a setup, where I would understand how the ML ops is currently working. So approximately how much time should this entire process take? Anyone? 1 day? 3 days? How much? Or maybe 2-3 hours? Yeah? Okay, I did not get an answer for that. Usually it would take about 3 days for a data engineer, and approximately 3 days getting the algorithm, and that too he or she has to be aware of the entire code set, has to be aware of, let us say, some of the libraries which are already available. And what if I tell you, I would just do that on top of the database that I have, which is Snowflake. So this is Snowsite, which is the interface of Snowflake. This is the UI side of it. I have just now logged in into my interface, and I have now logged in into my worksheets, and I am on machine learning powered functions. And the gist that I am going to show you today is how we are going to generate a forecast in less than 3 minutes. And this is a 5-minute challenge, and we have taken that up, and we would do that in under that, right? So think about it. What could you do more in the rest of 3 days if you do this in 5 minutes? And that too, this is possible for those developers who are not aware of all the libraries and packages of Python. This is friendly for SQL users, and if you take a distribution of all the users of data, you would find SQL at about 50% of the distribution, and then Python R, and there are other tools, Power BI, Tableau, and BI tools and analysis. But majority of the developers are aware of SQL. So this is where, when Farhan, my friend, was talking about how are we making it, all of this come to your data. So data is first, and then all of the functions are coming to your data, and you're doing it in minutes. So this is the ease that we bring in. With that, I will just tell a story. I hope you can see the screen, or else I will just do a command plus. I hope you can see that. So everything on top of Snowflake is actually role-based access control, and hence you are seeing the specific role in which I would have to log in, which I am already. Uh, so everything is a role-based access control. So that is where you see the use of the role of account admin. I will just run this just to check. Okay, my statement got executed successfully. Network is back. So this is a live demo right in front of you. I'm using a schema, a database, and a schema for the same. I'm starting a database because I wanted to do a quick start with all of you. And the schema which I've developed is machine learning power functions, MLPF. What I'm going to do is use a specific schema and then go ahead and set up a particular search path on my account. I do not want you to understand everything and take away all of it. What I want you to understand that this is everything which is as simple as that. I am getting my data for which I am going to train and use so that is coming and residing on top of Snowflake in a stage. Let me tell you the story behind this. About 3-4 months back, I had a discussion with a friend of mine who has got a food truck, and she told me that there are a few food items on my food truck, which is on Vivipuram, and some of those items are really fast going, and I really want to understand how do I forecast a specific food item which is fast going and make up the entire kitchen ready so that we do not let any of our customers go out without that particular item. With that, actually we searched for what would be the mechanism of doing this food truck story and building these powered functions and putting this forecast early. So she provided me with the data that I am currently loading into the system, and she wanted me to check what would be the area that she would be running these, so what is the primary city. For now, because a food truck exists all over in Canada, US, India and everything, she wanted her sales to increase in Canada zone, and that is where we are looking into the Vancouver data, where one of our fastest going data set is lobster mac and cheese as per her, and we have just now loaded all of the data that she has given, and you can see the rows loaded, and this was done in sub-seconds, right? I got the data loaded, and now what I'm doing is I am just seeing what is the kind of data that I have. So you would see that we have breakfast crepes, we have got bowls, we have got a lot of data in there, and one of the fastest growing data or selling products out there is lobster mac and cheese. What we would do is I would just want to see over the past 1 year what was the performance of this particular food object, and hence what I have done is I have just kept it for the 1 year duration. So here I am filtering my data, I am sorting it, I am filtering, I am transforming the data, and I am building it on top of one particular table. After I have done that, I want to understand or build a view on top of it where I am saying what happens to this lobster mac and cheese, guys? Is this the fastest selling one? What happened to it in the past 1 year? Once I have done that, here comes the crux, and I want you to take this away, that this is the forecast function that I am creating right now, right in front of you in less than about 5 seconds or so. This is where I am inputting the data, building the forecast, and also getting how much time stamp, for what duration of time do I want to take the entire input set so that I can build the set on top of it and then forecast for the upcoming quarters. So all of that under 5 seconds. What if you would have had to code this? This would itself take about 1.5 to 2 days. So that is what we were telling, AI in seconds. After that, you could just go ahead and show the forecast. So this is the forecast that I just now created, lobster mac forecast. We have called the same, and when we are calling this, we are actually fitting this on top of the data that I took right in front of you in seconds, and I'm going to utilize it on top of the data set that I have. So forecast right now getting fit on your data in your environment, and you are not moving your data anywhere outside. Right? So your data remains secured, remains governed, and no API is required, nothing of that sort. You do not have a risk of going through that entire route of security. Once you have done that and done a prediction, what would you like to know? You would like to store the results, so that is what we would do with the help of a predictions table. Again, as easy as that is. Once you have done that, you can see the results, and I would show it on a graph also. So just now, I have found the lower bound, the upper bound, the forecast value, and this is where the forecast would come in. All those where we have the actual data, there you would see the total sold, and wherever it is the data where the forecast has happened, you are actually seeing the forecasted values. So these are the forecasted values with the lower bound, upper bound, so this is the place. Till the May, June kind of a quarter, I have done, or my data had the data, which was the actual data, and then I started forecasting, all under 2 minutes. Yeah. So this is where the ML powered functions come into play. I could choose the prediction interval, I could choose the parameter and the accuracy factor which I want to apply on top of the data on my data. Once I have done that and I have obtained all of it, you would be wondering, can I bring up a slide? Can I bring up a map? Yes, you can. There are charts which are available. So here, as you see, there are some charts out here which would show you what was the past trending of the data, and then once you start seeing the forecast with the upper bound and the lower bound or the timestamp, you would start seeing what is the forecasted value for the next days, for the next months, or for the next quarters or years, as you wish to predict the same. So I have taken up the challenge right now. Let us say I want to fine-tune this data. That is one of the biggest questions, right? I am seeing a trend here that on the days when there are holidays, this data set goes down. You wanted to bring that data? Yes, you can go to the Snowflake marketplace and get the holidays data for free. So we are the Snowflake Data Cloud, where we also provide you some of the data sets like financial data, like ESG data, and all of that, where you can just bring in from the marketplace, marry the data with your own data on your database as a database.schema kind of a thing and a table. Now I have got the holiday calendar data, and what I am doing is I have just connected it, just done a join on top of my own table, and I am just generating the results on top of it. That is, I am just finding out what if my holidays come in and marry with my data. Are the holidays leading to a dip in my sale? And once I have done that, I would just go ahead and choose. You would be wondering, can I do that on multiple items? Yes. So this is the example of multiple items being forecasted. I am right away creating another forecast with multiple items, that is soda, bottle, water, sparkling water, everything which is on high sale, and I can run over and do that forecast, and I could fit the data. So all under 5 minutes, and this is what we were saying, that AI can now be done in minutes for all of you, and this is where data takes up the added advantage. If you have to build for humans, then you have to understand what is the pattern of your customers, of your data, and that is where Snowflake comes in, gets everything in minutes and seconds. Thank you so much for your time today, and I will see you at 3 o'clock again where we discuss more about Snowflake. Thank you so much for your time.